So, this story begins with the scene of a prison where we see the main character of the story, whom everyone knows, Arthur, or let's call him Joker. Due to not getting proper food and water, he has become very weak. Here, we come to know why Arthur, or Joker, is imprisoned. Actually, he openly killed 5 people, and this crime got him convicted. He hadn't killed them without reason, but the way he killed them made him infamous among people. At that time, he was in full Joker mode. He had taken on the Joker's look with his costume and makeup. This notoriety even led to a TV movie being made about him, which many people liked, especially Joker's fans. These fans believe that Arthur, or Joker, is innocent and that he did a good thing by killing those 5 people because they were all really bad individuals who used to trouble him and mock him. Frustrated, he took this drastic step. But from the perspective of the rest of society, he is a criminal because he ended people's lives. In this way, Arthur has been in prison for many years now, with no clarity on how many more years he will remain confined here, as he hasn't even had a court hearing to determine his sentence. Poor Arthur finds peace nowhere. Outside, he was harassed and bullied by people, and now that he's in prison, he is troubled by the police officers, who also make fun of him in the same way. Arthur's lawyer calls him to meet her, so he goes. While on the way, he notices a girl and begins to stare at her intently. The girl, named Lee, also can't seem to take her eyes off Arthur. After a moment, she gestures as if she's shooting at him. But then, the police officers take Arthur away from there, and he goes to meet his lawyer, who is handling his case. Though his lawyer is fighting his case, she's also taking advantage of his situation. These days, Arthur has become quite a sensation, with everyone talking about him. The lawyer uses this to her advantage and brings some reporters along so they can interview Arthur. She simply tells him that these people will ask him a few questions and that he needs to talk about himself. Arthur, following her instructions, gets up and goes to the interview room. He doesn't actually want to do this, as he dislikes reporters, but he agrees because he wants to get out of jail. During the interview, he's asked some questions that he absolutely dislikes. Although he answers them, he feels a deep anger inside because he is being forced to relive his past, making things harder for him. However, he still answers each question truthfully. Another purpose of the interview was also to check Arthur's mental state, meaning that he would continue to be interviewed frequently. They want to see if Arthur's mind has stabilized because many people believe he's insane, a crazy Joker, and that he killed 5 people in a fit of madness. So, under the guise of an interview, they are assessing his mental state. After the interview, when Arthur was taken back to jail, a police officer brought him to a music room where everyone was playing their choice of music. Lee, the girl he had met before, was also there, and this is how they met again. Both of them were very happy to see each other because ever since they had seen each other, they had wanted to meet. Arthur asks Lee, "Why are you here?" Lee explains, "The building where I used to live with my mother, I set it on fire in a fit of anger and burned down the whole building, which also caused my mother's death. Because of this, I was sentenced and ended up here." Hearing this, Arthur starts laughing loudly because it was his habit. Then Lee asks him, "Why are you here?" Arthur says, "What? Don't you know why I'm here? Everyone knows that I killed 5 people, and that's the reason I'm serving my sentence here." From then on, they would meet each day and eventually became close friends. One day, Lee even tells Arthur, "Come on, let's escape from here together." But he refuses, saying, No, I can't do that. They'll shoot me." In reality, Lee had developed feelings for him and wanted to escape from there to spend her future with Arthur. But since he declined, she felt a bit hurt, which was only natural. At this time, she was sitting in the theater with Arthur. She vented her anger by setting fire to the back of the theater. When the people inside noticed the fire, they started fleeing in fear. The whole hall was emptied, leaving only her and Arthur, who didn't run away in fear. Both of them confessed their love for each other. It wasn't just her, Arthur also began to love her. Afterward, they both ran outside to the playground, pretending to escape by jumping over the gate. But just then, officers arrived and caught them, taking them away. Instead of being worried, They started laughing, signaling that they were alike. Arthur enjoyed the moment so much that he laughed like a madman. Now, when Arthur was brought back to jail, DB, with someone's help, entered his cell, and they spent time together. DB said that she wanted to see him in his Joker form, and she even brought makeup with her. Using it, she transformed him into the Joker, and they both enjoyed the moment. The next day, a lawyer came again to see Arthur because she wanted to interview him again. She brought along the best reporters so they could assess his mental state through their questions. Arthur did not want to talk about his past because it disturbed him and made him feel bad, but the reporter kept asking questions about his past traumas. She even started asking about the fact that he had killed his mother, which disturbed Arthur so much that he got angry at the reporter. Although he had been sitting quietly until then, his sentence was now complete, and he was released. She was watching Arthur's interview on TV after she was released. Today, after this interview, Arthur was to be presented in court, and as he was being taken, his fans were lined up along the streets, chanting his name in support. They were there to support him and stand by him because they wanted Arthur to be released from jail as soon as possible and to live a free life. They believed that he deserved to live because the people he had killed deserved it, and that was the fate of such people. When Arthur entered the courtroom, he spotted Lee among his supporters. Seeing each other made them both very happy. As the hearing began, the opposing lawyer stood up and started speaking against Arthur, saying that he had done a terrible thing by killing 5 people openly on a train. Then, Arthur's lawyer stood up and defended him, saying that Arthur, the Joker, had always lived his life alone in a room, that he was innocent, and that he hadn't done anything to those 5 people. Instead, they had tormented him to the point of breaking. What could a poor soul like him do? He only killed them to defend himself because he has a childlike mind and just acts on what he thinks is right. The other lawyer responded, saying, no matter what, he did commit murder, right? It's still a crime, and he deserves to be punished for it. He has no right to roam free. After listening to both lawyers, the judge postponed the case to a later date. When Arthur's lawyer came outside, Lee approached her and said, the way you're handling this case, Arthur will lose, and he'll get punished. You need to fight harder and do whatever it takes to get him free. Later, when Arthur was taken back to jail, his lawyer came to meet him and asked him about Lee. Arthur said, yes, she's a wonderful girl whom I love and trust. To this, the lawyer replied, what do you really know about her? She's deceiving you. She told you her mom and dad were dead, but the truth is that her dad is a doctor, and both her parents are still alive. Arthur also found out that Lee hadn't actually been sentenced. Instead, she had deliberately paid to get herself admitted as an inmate so she could meet him. One day, when Lee came to visit Arthur in jail, he asked her about this. She said, yes, you're absolutely right. My mom and dad are alive, and I lied to you about that. I also hid the fact that I paid money to get myself admitted here. But I didn't have any bad intentions. I just wanted to meet you because I fell for you, and I want to get you released from here so that we can live a happy life together after leaving this place. She continued, what can I do? It's not my fault. I've watched your TV show and film almost 20 times, and I've fallen in love with you. No matter what happens, I'm determined to get you out of jail so we can be together. Hearing this, Arthur happily agreed. And now, the day finally arrived for Arthur's court hearing. Arthur's neighbor came to testify in his favor, saying, I used to meet Arthur and his mom often. That day, when Arthur was attacking his mother, I saw it all happen right in front of my eyes. I was so terrified seeing him in that state that I took my child and fled to another city to protect him. But when I heard that Arthur had been jailed, I felt terrible, and I came here to testify on his behalf because wrong things have always happened to that poor soul. He's never wanted to hurt anyone, and yes, when Arthur was attacking his mother, he was in his Joker persona. At that moment, I realized that this wasn't Arthur but the true Joker. So, I believe that any killings that happened weren't Arthur's doing but rather the Joker inside him, which society forced him to unleash. Hearing this, Arthur suddenly felt a surge of courage. He became so disturbed that he stood up before everyone and said to the judge, I want to represent myself in my case now. I don't need any lawyer." With that, he dismissed his lawyer and walked out. Lee was also happy about his decision because she felt that Arthur, or rather the Joker, had made the right choice. The day arrived for his next court appearance. His supporters were gathered outside, eager to hear the judgment in the Joker's favor. Arthur decided to fight his own case and came dressed as the Joker, complete with his outfit and makeup. He sat confidently, awaiting the hearing. As the proceedings began, the opposing lawyer brought in Arthur's former colleague, who had worked with him for several years and knew him well. He explained how Arthur acted wildly and how he transformed when he became the Joker, saying, "I was on the train with him when the Joker committed those murders, and I saw it all myself." Hearing this, the Joker, Arthur, stood up and asked, "Tell me, who did you really see while I was committing those murders?" The witness echoed what the neighbor had said, saying, "I saw the Joker within Arthur killing those people." This testimony disturbed Arthur once again, and he started speaking out against the police. He said, "These people don't need witnesses or evidence. Whoever they find, guilty or not, they just lock them up. If the police had arrived on time that day on the train, they would have seen who was actually responsible, and I wouldn't have had to kill anyone." Arthur was putting the blame on the police for everything. That day's hearing ended there, and the case was postponed again. But when Arthur was taken back to jail, the police, angry at him for speaking out against them, decided to teach him a lesson. They beat him severely, giving him a thorough beating before finally returning him to his cell. And now, 2 days later, the court hearing day arrives again. Today, Lee also came dressed as the Joker because she was certain that Arthur would inevitably lose. But we can clearly see the disappointment on Arthur's face in his Joker persona, as he had given up. He finally admits, "Yes, I admit that I have done terrible things, and I am ashamed of it. I confess my crime." Hearing this, Lee gets so angry that she stands up with her people and storms out of the courtroom, because she didn't want the Joker to surrender or confess to anything before the court. But since Arthur himself confessed to his crime, the case was essentially over, and it was time for his sentencing. So, he dropped the Joker persona and returned to his normal self. Then, unexpectedly, he started laughing loudly. Seeing him laughing, those who were against him became furious. They attacked Arthur and started beating him, but he didn't stop laughing. While he was still inside the courtroom, his laughter caused a massive explosion, devastating the entire court. Some people died in the incident, while many were left injured and lying on the ground. Somehow, Arthur managed to make his way out of the court and spotted one of his fans, who was also dressed as the Joker. The fan immediately recognized him as the real Joker and helped him escape, putting him in a car and speeding away. He wanted to help the Joker, but in the middle of the escape, they got stuck in traffic. For some unknown reason, Arthur jumped out of the car and started running. After running for a while, he saw Lee in front of him. Arthur approached her and said, "Let's go. Let's leave this place and start a new life somewhere far away." There was an explosion in the court, and I escaped from there. Hearing this, Lee replied, "No, that's not possible anymore. The man I fell in love with can't be you. I fell in love with a fearless, brave person. I didn't know you would give up so easily. You've disappointed me deeply. Instead of admitting your guilt in front of everyone, you should have stood firm. So, I've made my decision. I won't spend my life with you. You're a coward. I know I'm going to be the mother of your child, and we were supposed to get married soon. But I don't want my child to have a father who's a coward." Saying this, Lee walked away, leaving Arthur standing there, broken and speechless. Still stunned by her words, he stood there as the police arrived and arrested him again, taking him back to jail. In jail, a man who was against Arthur came to meet him under the pretense of singing a song, but instead took him to a secluded place and attacked him. He used a dangerous weapon, inflicting severe injuries on Arthur, who collapsed and began bleeding heavily. As he lay there, his eyes slowly closed, and he stopped moving, looking as if he had died. Now, has Arthur the Joker really died? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment box. And with this, the movie and the story come to an end. I hope you have liked this movie recap. Please like, share and subscribe for more real recaps.